I'm here. Bet you were wondering, was his mic off? It's not off, it's on. I'm here. So, dear Rob, why have you not been streaming today? P.S. We miss you streaming. Well, let me answer, because I've been setting up a bunch of shit. So, right now I'm going to be working on Final Fantasy VII construction Ruffies, but let's just say I've had to go and set up my Ruffies for my sketchbooks coming up next couple days. Had to get caught up on YouTube maintenance, and I had to... What else do I have to do? Game cave stuff and paperwork, and so some days, you know, you gotta go do the chores. You gotta do the chores. So what is this? This is my Final Fantasy VII. Right there, Ruffy. So I gotta start drawing this thing. It's going to be two 11x17s wide. So if we kind of come here, you can see it. That would be half, and that would be half. So I cleverly made it so no faces get cut off. Ooh, shit. That hair, not much I could do about that, but we'll get to it. So the trick now is to get the construction Ruffy for all the characters set up, and then print this sucker out and manually draw it. And then take the manually drawn inks and whatever, scan that fucker in, and digitally ink that shit. All right, so I'm in a mood. I'm in a mood. Yeah, I don't think I've talked all day. I'm always amazed the first things that come out of my mouth, like fuck that, fuck, you know. It's you'd have thought I would have been a sailor, but no, that wasn't my chosen military profession. So let's move on here. Of course, Brandon calls me right as the stream starts, so feel free to leave your questions and comments in the chat box or the comments below, and I will answer them as I get to them. I'm going to call Brandon back quickly here. Yeah, I'm here. I was talking to Brandon on the phone. Well, I've done more. I've done more complex, you know. The trick is to take it one thing at a time, you know. I mean, my general rule is just, you know, when it comes to the lighting, is trying to like, you know, like where's this the key light, you know? So there's the white, there's the light, there's the light. So that means dark, dark, and then there's light there, you know? So I try to figure out the global lighting, and then I light the characters to the global lighting. And like there I added a little bit of a light source to underlight this because it's dark in that area, you know? In terms of drawing all the characters and stuff, that just one little piece at a time. You know, I start on the main character, like Cloud, and then work my way back. The only thing with this piece that I was uncertain of was if I would have the ability to physically draw it at the scale the characters was going to be. Because sometimes this stuff's too small to draw a ton of stuff to. That's why I got to go digital. Because I would need a canvas bigger than 11 by 17. Not the case here, but and with construction roughies, I don't have to be absolutely perfect, you know, because I can figure out the rest on the page. I'm just more concerned with getting the big shapes blocked in. God damn it, where'd that fucking thing go? I drew Cloud once when I was at play. I gotta dig that up too. Yeah, here we go. This is something I did at Play Magazine. I drew this back in 2009. So they wanted a piece on storytelling in games. So I had to get really used to drawing group shots really fast. So. What is going on? Give me 1 second. That was weird. Alright, it was up. Sometimes YouTube's servers are just really busy. Final Fantasy 7. Yeah, I saw that where he was actually cutting stuff. That was cool. That's my AC unit, man. I've given up trying to work through the heat. Huh. Yeah, but at least you know. Gotta be honest, man. I take to the cold. I mean, it'd be one thing if they didn't rape us over the fucking. I hate to use that word. They didn't rake us over the coals by charging the shit out of electricity. You know, but whatever. But that's just how it is, right? Like, if it's cold and they're gonna charge you for coal way more than it's worth, or wood, or whatever, vice versa. So I've spent years working through the heat, though. I was like, whatever. But getting to that age now where I'm like, you know what? I don't need this shit. I don't need this trouble. Goddamn hand movements. Wall-mounted radiators. Anyone see the review of No Man's Sky over at Kotaku? It's really interesting, you know. They're like, yeah, I played this for 30 hours. I don't know, not worth it. And I'm just like, 30 hours. You know? I didn't need to get through 30 hours of Mario to make a decision whether I liked it or not. You know, like if I play a game for 30 hours, I have to like it. Like on whether you're like, well, it could be more. That doesn't mean you don't like it. That just means, yeah, it could be more. It could be doing this and that and this and that. That means you like it. You just wish it did more. No, it's not worth it. It's the funniest fucking thing I've. That's one of the weirdest reviews I've ever heard. Gotta put that one in the. Gotta write that one down. I played this for 30 hours. I don't know. It's a game that gets you to another game. You know, it doesn't have the immediate pickup and appeal of like Minecraft, where you can like immediately craft a shelter. This wood, you know, with stone equals axe, the obvious stuff, right? But I believe like Infinite Miner and Dwarf Fortress were a little harder to get into and a little bit more cumbersome. That No Man's Sky gets you to the Minecraft version of No Man's Sky, you know, or to another game that's a little bit more accessible, a little bit more deeper, you know, in terms of. That being said, dude, it's a total accomplishment given the game, just the subject material. Also, you know, how many people made that shit? Nah, it's nothing like Spore. Spore is a bunch of mini games. You know, all you really wanted in Spore was the spaceship. You get the spaceship here pretty quick. You know. Well, right now the scale of it's unimportant, given that you know the repetitive nature of what you're doing. You know, you're just doing it over and over again over a large scale. You know, the thing is about it's more about like the structure of Minecraft isn't, you know, here's this level, here's the challenge, defeat the boss, move on to the next level. It's more of like creating your own little experience, you know. Here's my little place, I'm going to set up shop, I'm going to do this. And it needs something where like the ship could be like your portable, you know, home. It needs you to be able to like, you know, you can't actually like mine anything you want. You have to like, not like you can just take the axe and start digging caves. You can't make maps. Like, what it does is create this giant thing that is building itself, which is interesting. But it's like it needs more things to build. It needs to be able to build cities. It needs to be able to build, you know, more, I don't want to say varied landscapes, but just total desolation. I don't know. It's a game that if you play it, you can get a million ideas for another game. You know. So I'm interested to see what comes next. You know. And I really think that if we're ever to get a Sword Art Online VR style game, that in order for that to happen, it has to be with something that's procedurally generating the universe. You know, I do believe that. So it's going to require real money, you know? Not just, I mean, creative thinking, which comes from the indie community, and then, you know, real money to, or just dedication. I mean, I don't know how dedicated these guys are to building the current game out. Like, it took, like, Notch spent years, you know, him and that crew, initially him, and then, you know, he hired people to help build that game out. And he didn't charge incremental money, you know, money for updates, like Sony would or some shit, you know? So it needs 2 years of consistent content updates. And then probably like, even though the world's generated, there probably needs to be some fixed areas that are quest based, you know, that aren't generated. You know, those are actually designed. So imagine like Sword Art, the 100 levels thing, you know, like the first few floors are manually built, and then the next 20 floors are randomly generated, and the next 5 floors are randomly, you know, actually built, and the next 10 floors are randomly generated. Stuff like that, you know? Like, it needs to be this combination of integrating, and then all the world around it, like the key cities, there could be core parts of the city that are designed, and then things around it are randomly generated. Like, there's going to be this mix, you know, of both to get the scale, you know, but then to get the actual depth, you need like that Witcher level, you know, quests and writing and stuff like that. Yeah, I can never get into MMOs though, man. You know, like the typical MMO gameplay. Click some buttons, kind of just attacks, wait for my charge up, click some buttons. Well, Sword Art is an RPG. It's an anime if you haven't seen it. How does this fucking dude's hair work? I don't know. do 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 do. Come on. Right. Yeah, Sword Art's pretty dope. Do 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 do. Ba-na-na-na-na. Dun dun dun. Dun 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 dun. See, now I'm gonna get DMC'd. Dun 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 dun. Dun. See, let's see if that. Let's see if that does it. Yeah, this is a third season too, by the way, Hector. If you haven't seen it. Yeah, it would totally be your fault. Yeah. Hulu or Crunchyroll. You can watch for free on Crunchyroll. A million prints in. Hey man, brought to you by the guy from Halo, right? What's my thought on the episodic remake? I'm concerned about the play control. I don't care. I get why it would have to be broken up into parts just because those are pre-rendered backgrounds. So if they're building the whole cities in full 3D, that's really large. You know? That's a visual image versus, giant 3D assets. So I get that. Those games were huge. I know a lot of times I know we think our games are pretty big, dude, but only The Witcher sort of compares to the size in the equivalent scale, right, of CDs to Blu-rays and those RPGs. My problem is with the gameplay. Like I played that Final Fantasy 15 demo, and all you have to do is hold the button down, and the guy just runs around and hits everything. Like that ain't I don't know what that is. That's one step worse than mobile gaming to me. So if you hold the button down and Cloud just running around, I want turn-based, that's me. So, I wish it was just, in a way I wish it was just Final Fantasy VII that they just remade all the backgrounds in HD and added animations and new lighting, new character models, and just made it look like a modern version of a retro game. That's what I wish, you know. And then they could expand more content, right? Maybe pick up the game after you beat it. Like now, here's extra, you know, Final Fantasy VII Plus, and it's, you know, another disc or two worth of shit, you know, like that has nothing to do with Advent Children. That'd be nice. So they're not really making it for us, you know. They're making it for I don't know, mainstream gamers. I don't know, people who don't care about the game. It's weird, right? Like a bunch of people who grow with it would love to see an HD remake, but when they make an HD remake, they're making it for people who aren't the people who would want it because we aren't enough people to warrant that. I don't know. I don't know. Strange thinking. Or give people the option to play it like Final Fantasy. They'll be like, oh, it plays like Kingdom Hearts. I'm like, well, then remake Kingdom Hearts, man. Like, I don't understand. Thinking, you know. Yeah, I got another tutorial coming. Someone had a question about silhouettes and drawing things in front of things and stuff, so... I just couldn't imagine sitting here, like, with the blank, like, just trying to sit here and go, like, okay, here will be the shoulder blades, and then the arm will come out here, and, like, watch, this will come out here, and I'll add this, and then I'll go, like this, And then it'll come in. Like, I just couldn't imagine doing that, man. You know? Like, and then maybe like you're not even using solid shapes, like you're just using these little circles, right? Like, just couldn't imagine that. Like, or, you know, you could start with the head. And be like, nah, maybe it goes more into perspective that way. You know? And then, or it comes under, like his hand is coming under. Like, just couldn't imagine. Well, I can't imagine because that's how everyone told me I had to draw when I was like in art departments. They were just they saw me what I was doing. And it was always, I get clowned. You know, is that what you man? What are you doing? You know, looks like a big blob of shit. I had one guy say that once when you walk by my tape. I'm like, yeah, well, watch me turn that shit into gold, motherfucker. You know, it's like a lot of lines that you have to erase to get to other lines. You know. I gotta have the character reference. Their models and shit. What the fuck they look like? The hardest part is just all the reference that has to be collected. You know, it's like I don't memorize these characters, so I can't even begin to tell you. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. And I like looking at the original art. I don't like looking at people's interpretations and shit. Oh yeah, I was there, dude. You know, I agree. I already graduated high school when that came out. But Amano's work never looked like, you know, like he was always just doing his own thing, right? So Oh yeah, Ashley, her Kickstarter is starting soon. I told her whenever she's ready, we can do a video. Yeah, so we'll do something to help promote, get the word out. Later, dude. School. I don't miss that shit. Some days, in some ways I do. I mean, it's nice to not have to pay bills. you know, it's about it. Well, you're gonna have to do shit you don't like. It's part of life, right? I hated getting up in the army. I think the worst part was waking up. Yeah. Later, dude. Yeah, you get into some cool job like software development, and you never go to sleep. You get to live at work. Yeah, this t-shirt job once. I had to drive an hour and a half to. It could take almost 2.5 hours sometimes, given traffic. And so I'd get there between 9 and 9:30. It was right near a border. We have these border crossings. So sometimes they'd turn on the border crossing and back up traffic for 10 miles, and it would add an extra, sometimes an hour to your wait. You'd just be sitting there for 40 minutes waiting yeah, to cross this border crossing. And so sometimes I get there at 9, sometimes I get there at 9:45. And the guy's working there one day goes, we really need you here at the same time. I'm like, by when? And they're like, well, preferably like 8:30. And I'm like, okay, first off, I live an hour and a half away. You guys know this. So if I leave, I mean, I gotta leave my house at 7, let's say 6:45, which means I gotta get up by 6. Now, if they turn on the border crossing, that means I gotta leave at least another hour early, just in case the border crossing, that means I gotta get up at 5 and leave by 5:45, and that means, 3 days out of the week I can end up being here just at 7:30, and then I'm still stuck working because it was a salary job. That means I'm still stuck working here till 7 o'clock anyway, which is I'm here for 12 hours. Fuck that. I told him, I said, you can fire me. I didn't sign up for that shit. This job's not worth it. So, pay me the unemployment because I'm not doing it. And at the time, I was still going to school, so some days I would get there at 9:30 and have to leave at 1, But I had to take my work home with me, so I was working on work, in school and after school and everything else. So it was the last 3 or 4 months of my, and they knew that going in. Yeah, I would say that's how you'll feel. And then one day, I don't know. I can't say that's true. All I would say is, keeping other people happy while you pursue your dreams is another art form. You know. So my advice would be is start as early as you can. So, you're not beholden to things like, wives and relationships and shit like that. But at some point, like, I don't know what it is about. I mean, in the art department, we would be the only one there. Everyone would have gone home, but we'd still be there working. And the other people in that company felt that we didn't do shit because we got to sit there and draw all day. And I'm like, fuck you. You come in, your work's there in front of you. If you're in accounting, people spend money. You're keeping the books. You're just doing the paperwork. We got to invent money for this fucking place. We're there till 2 a.m. We're there on weekends. No one's there but us. And we get, well, you guys get to do something you love. Oh, fuck you. Give me, we don't even make the most. Like, give me a job I hate. Just pay me more. You do get to that point. So, hopefully you end up in a better position. It's possible. I'm not saying it isn't. Yeah, you always gotta have your own thing going on, man. That's the truth. No matter what you're doing creatively, you always gotta be doing your own thing on top of everything else you're doing. Work isn't gonna get you through that alone, or produce, work that's worthy of getting into another job. They could just put you on shit assignments that are inherently shitty no matter what you do, and then that's your portfolio. No one's going to be impressed. I've never gotten work because of my t-shirt portfolio, I can only have a handful of designs, if that I go, oh, that's cool, But it's all this other shit that I've done on top of that, I mean, the last time I was in a job interview for a t-shirt job, I had over 100 shirts. I was like 120 shirts in the PDF, right? And it was on a big screen. They're looking through them. 120 shirts. And they're like, so you got more? I'm like, here's all my other stuff I do. There's never enough t-shirts. And if it's games, it'll be like, oh, so you just did the hands, like, what else? Well, we got a program that does hands now, You do any feet? So there's always, always something else. Then you have to convince them that if it was a good idea, you didn't steal it. You're like, I didn't take that from another shirt. I came up with that. Here's how I came up with it. So there's challenges. Challenges in any field. Which is weird, because if you were a chef, no one would be like, you didn't invent that bread pudding. Yeah, bread pudding's like... So, and then you'll hear but I don't have time to work on my own art. Like, no, none of us fucking have time. It's called making time. First couple years are tough, though, man. A lot of times you're taking your work home just so you can up the quality of your work at work, so you can keep your job. So first couple years in your profession, you're not going to get much time to do side level stuff, statistically speaking. After the second year, if you're still taking work home, I'd say your first year, but it's possible second year. If you're still, doing that sort of thing, then you got fucking problems. Or you got a real shitty job. Don't put up with that shit. I mean, pay your bills, but start looking for another job. Never quit. Just get another job and then quit. I've walked out, so I can tell you it. He has this skull tattoo I'll have to work on. The trick is to turn your your personal stuff into your freelance. And I would advise, find a way to do that as quick as possible. Freelance is the one thing I do little of. I try to do as little of as humanly possible. But I do get it, it's hard. It took years. So I always tell Ashley, I'm like, no matter how late you start, whether it's in your early 20s or your mid 30s, whatever, wherever you start, you're gonna wish you had started earlier. Even just selling art or assets or whatever. I mean, I don't know, man. 3D, I don't know how to do that. But once you figure out a formula, you're gonna wish you had started earlier because that means you could have figured out the formula earlier. Even if it's just like one good painting at a time, like one good oh, I painted that fucking Invincible. I sold it for $50. Well, I get it's not as much as a $500 project, but that stuff scales up, man, over time. Unless you don't enjoy doing that, then don't do it. There's always that option, right? But you're going to find there's a million ways to have a career. You got to figure out which one's working for you. And if it's not working, change up quickly. Don't sit around waiting for it. Well, someday it'll work out. Yeah. But I know the feeling. I mean, when I was working Wendy's and security, I'd be like, any job that pays me to use Photoshop, I'll be happy to do. I'm like, and I still agree that that's a valid statement. If I could sit around using Photoshop all day and get paid, then hey, that's a win. I'm not gonna knock it. The one thing I will say is I'm not gonna spend my entire time. I would rather not take a job drawing that's gonna have me draw a bunch of nonsense and make me a worse artist. That's actually one of the reasons why I don't even pursue t-shirt art, is it makes me a worse artist. It requires me to draw poorly. How many times I've drawn like an Avenger shirt and they're like, you got to make it look dumb. People go, that looks fucked up. I'm like, yeah, they made me do that. Like. And they always want to see something new, so you constantly have to draw differently. That's why people goes, man, you could draw like this and you draw like that. I'm like, I had no choice. I'm only now getting to be like, here's how I draw this. Here's how I draw that. You know, you draw something once in your style at a t-shirt place. You know, 2 weeks later, it's like, we've seen that. What else? You know, and that didn't sell. Don't ever do that again. You know. All you can do is that thing. Well, you know, we got to cut you. Ruthless. Shape plays, dude. Comes down to shapes. What kind of shapes you enjoy doing? You know? It's hard to develop a style when you're young, man. You got to try everything. You know? Try everything. A style will come out of, like, actually, style tends to come out of efficiency. You know, like, I only had so much time. Here's how I did this. Now, I'm sitting around trying to figure out how I draw fingers and eyes and stuff. I always say start with silhouettes. Start with construction roughies. You know, build up silhouettes for cars, for planes, construction roughies, learn to draw from center. Keep building up those things. And then do as much, you know, free sketching, just sitting outside drawing people so you can practice that too. I mean, I did that for years, just sitting around drawing people. So you can, you know, learn how anatomy works. But then come back and start refiguring out those poses and silhouettes and then breaking people down to shapes. Take some 3D, you know, learn some Maya so you can start to try to build a volume in your head, you know. And it's going to come from influence, you know. It's hard when you're young. You know, a lot of times style comes from, like, when you're young, it just comes from, I couldn't draw that way, so I just did it this way. Like, I didn't enjoy drawing hair, so all my characters wore masks or were Ninja Turtles. You know, that's not going to fly. Or, you know, if you like big feet, you end up making things way too crazy, you know. And it starts to exaggerate too far, right? Like, everyone has... Like, now Batman, you know, instead of Batman having, like, a leg that kind of goes like this and, you know, let's say, like, some chunky feet, it turns into Batman having, like, this and then looking like the Max, you know, which has its place, but, you know. Unless you're always going to do that. I mean, again, you can have fun with it. You can go, look, oh my god, it has giant ears. Oh shit. You know? Give him Popeye forearms. Thin arms, Popeye forearms. Doo-doo. Right? Tiny cape. Doo-doo-doo. Then you get that out your system and you never do that again. That's not true. I do want to start doing, like, in the next few months, I do want to do something where I just, like, go kind of wild with designs, you know? To be like, here's a weird version of Batman. Here's a weird version of whatever. You know? Just to let it out. I still prefer controlling, you know? Controlling exaggeration to an extent. So it doesn't look like a parody. Right. Everyone has a mohawk. Everyone has a mohawk. You know. It's like, just starting this piece can be a bit of a headache too. It's like, oh shit, I gotta fucking do that now, you know? And I drag ass sometimes. I'll spend a couple hours not starting. Then, you know, you get started and you're like, oh, that wasn't as hard as I thought it was. You know? It was one little piece at a time. So, like, today is going to be a slow day on this. Tomorrow will get faster, and the day after, you know, we'll probably be ready to draw it. I'll be like, that wasn't so hard. But it's the way it goes, man. I've learned to just trust the process. People want times now when it comes to my art. I'm like, I don't know. When I get done with it. What does that mean? It means when I get done with it. The only thing I try to keep under some kind of time constraint are the commissions, just for sheer math, you know. Plus, it's, you know, but even then, sometimes it needs an extra hour or two. I'm not going to sit there and be like, well, that's it. All I had was 2 fucking hours. You know, I don't do that to myself. It's ridiculous. Let's see. We finally hit 9,000 subs on YouTube. How about that, huh? Well, it took 8 years, but not really. I started this in 2006, but I didn't really start using the channel until a year ago, so we're getting there. Off and on over 3 years, let's say that. Yeah, it's slowly coming along, you know. Starting to look like a little bit respectable. Really worked on those fucking... Oh, look, I said that and then someone canceled. So now we're down to 8999. See what happens when I make an announcement? Yeah, 9,000. Oh, shit. That'll go back up in a day. It's funny. See what happened is the one videos that took off were these speed paints I was doing 3 years ago to figure out landscapes and gradient maps and stuff. And so like one of those hit 100,000 views, and then another one's 39, and then one's 16,000, and then 7, and then everything under that's a few thousand or 100 views. Like, so those speed paint people come in and they think that's all I'm going to be doing, and I don't. You know, I've tried doing new speed paints and they don't take off. So, I don't know. Just how it works. Oh yeah, that's when I discovered the E41, E42, and E43. And I chucked that one right out the. I got mad and threw it. I was like, "There, fuck that!" Like, yeah, that was when I was learning how to use Copics. I'll return to all that at some point, but I got 20 of those I got to redo, and I'm just gonna probably do them all Overwatch, just so I can be like I did that and move on. Actually, that eye isn't too big. I did the Scorpion, but the proportions were not the same, and people tend to like their Mortal Kombat more serious than goofy, so I'll have to revisit that at some point. I'm surprised by the amount of stuff I haven't drawn. Even really, be honest, man, I really haven't. Spent a lot of years where I couldn't draw anything because I've filled up all my time with freelance. Well, those were those 5x7s. So, like, I sold 50 pieces, with the first Kickstarter. I was like, oh, yeah, I'll do 50 pieces of whatever. You get a random sketch. And so I just figured out 50 different things, sketched them, printed them back out, and I was like, now I'll figure out how to use Copics. And that's how I taught myself. Right on the live stream, too. So I was using live stream. That's your computer. There we go. Man. This is going to be just tedious, dude. Today's going to be the slow day. Today's I may only get these two worked out. I may not even... Well, I'm going to try to get Tifa worked out here, but... This is the slow day. So then you turn off these Ruffies and then I can just focus on her, right? I'll work that out in a second. Yeah, that sucks. Nah, they're just decorative. They don't mean anything. I took them off and it didn't look as cool. Well, it comes from Scotty Young. Scotty Young and them back in 2004, before they were well known, he had a site called Lead Heavy. It came out of a board that we were all hanging out called Sketchboard Sessions, where Sean Galloway was part of Lead Heavy. So all these guys on the boards got together, like Mark Brooks, Sean, Scotty Young, what's his face? That dude who drew Spawn for a little bit, drew He-Man and stuff. So they had this thing, and then Brandon had that thing called Not Worth a Sketch. And I told him that was one of the worst names I've ever fucking heard. Probably the worst name I've ever heard. And so he likes old school Scotty Young shit, so I said, hey, he's not using that anymore, so it was LED heavy. So I said, why don't you just LEAD? Kind of get around it, you know? Because he was so fixated on branding himself, which is weird because his name is Brandon. He's like, I just want to fucking name it. It's like, I'm like, he's like, you got SketchCraft, man. And I'm like, dude, I didn't like sit around coming up with a name and then started my fucking art career, you know? Like, I was just Rob Duenas. You know, then I did Sketch Rob, and then I played Minecraft in 2009 and said, hey, I like Minecraft, SketchCraft. Hey, that's nifty. So then I went and got SketchCraft.com. Not my fault the shit was never taken. You know? Or that, whatever, dude. Which is... But what's really funny about it is Brandon loves 80s metal, so he'd probably be happy. He fancies himself a big 80s metal guy. I was telling him he needed to learn to fucking draw before you start worrying about, you know, you have like, you can't even, he goes, what do you mean I can't draw? People buy my shit all the time. I'm like, all right. And then I had to have this talk with him. This is how he ended up working with me. I was like, I had to have this talk with him. I'm like, your friends buy your art, okay? And people in your community, because they have this art community out in Phoenix, there's this little art community going on, and they're kind of all like subsidizing you, but you people really shouldn't be selling anything. You're really not any kind of good. You know, like, and none of the pros want to tell you this because, you know, they don't care. Why? Like, why would they care? So he'd be going to dinners, you know, after con with these artists, you know, guys that work at Zenoscope and shit, and thinking that he's one of the group. I was like, they don't like you, Brandon. They only respect art. No one respects your art. You're fucking ridiculous, dude. You know, and I said, he's like, well, how come you know you never said this before? I'm like, why should I ever say shit? I'm not gonna say shit, man. You know, like I'm only telling you now because you're sitting here arguing me over your fucking name. You know. So I'm trying to change his name from Lead Heavy to fucking Mega Potato, because like that's how people are gonna know you. He hates that. He wants to be taken so seriously. And he would say he would. He goes, I'm a big, I don't want to be taken seriously. I'm like, yeah, you do. You know? He's like, I know how to have fun. You're the one who wants to be serious. I'm like, right. Yeah, my show's real serious. You know? I get real serious about making quality art. No doubt there. But this is the funniest thing, man. So then eventually he went to this con and he didn't sell one thing. Normally he goes to these little conventions and he would be like, he'd make a $300-400. He didn't make anything. It cost him money to go. And he's like, everything you said finally happened. I said, one day you're not going to be able to sell anything. And you're going to wonder what happened. And I'm going to be like, well, you know, the pots ran dry, bro. You know, there's no more growth for you. And he's like, well, what do I do now? He's like, I'll do anything, you know. He's like, I'll do anything you say. And I'm like, right. So. First he thought it'd be a partnership or something. I had to explain to him we're not partners. Like, you aren't my equal, you know. Like, artistically speaking. As a human, I don't fucking know. I don't really care, you know. But as, you know, sorry, bro. Yeah, it's harsh, dude, but you know what? The fucking art world is uncompromising, potato. You know? It's uncompromising. And if you are not aware of what you're producing, you know, and you're wondering why you aren't getting better, and you're unwilling to accept that there are standards, then harsh is the least of your fucking problems. You know? Brandon has rent. Brandon has to pay his wife's whatever. Brandon has to walk into a place and a bunch of guys, you know, are talking shit about him, but no one's going to say anything. What's harsher? You know, so I showed him where my art was. I showed him how I got there, you know. And I'm like, you either accept that you're in, you know, you're at high school level art, you know, and you can start to change that. Oh, find out your friends like, yeah, well they didn't. That's the craziest fucking part, dude, is they've all like pretty much bailed now. You know? Now they don't fucking want to hang out with them. You know? Because of me, right? See, I knew eventually I'd see that hand. It was going flat. I'd see the top of it. But that's what happens. And by the way, you know, fuck those people. That's why I've said before, you know, you get in those art departments where artists will only compliment you when you're fucking up. Because they want you to fail. They love to see you struggling. Ha! You can see this. The best way to see it is watch cooking shows, man. Like if you watch like MasterChef or Hell's Kitchen or any of those kinds of shows, when they do group challenges, you'll see someone knowingly fail in the group, like just doing the wrong thing. But because they don't like them, they just let them fail. You know? And you're like, guys, you're all going to lose. It's a small team challenge. You know? I thought you guys were at first a team like that. SketchCraft was a group or a team of artists. Now, it's just easier to say SketchCraft than it is my last name. Duanius, you know, Duanus. Plus, people started, like, no one cared who I was before the mask, you know? Like, no one cared. You know? My wife was actually joking the other day. She's like, you've become like a symbol. You've got to become more than a man. You've got to become a symbol. I'm like, yeah, let's not take it too serious. But you know. I'm arguing with my boyfriend. I know, right? The thing is, man, I'm not. It's like Brandon's a good dude, man. He's a guy you can leave with $1,000. 6 months later, that money's still there. You know, he's a good guy. That being said, I'm not. You know, like he's like, oh man, we could totally be friends, like hang out. I'm like, no, that's not really gonna happen. You know, he's like, why? Because of me. I'm not that guy. Why? I'm intense, bro. You know, like you wouldn't want to hang around me all the time. And then when I go to his house a couple times a year, you know, he remembers why. I'm like, see, I just know me, man. You know? It's okay. I know who I am. You know, like Unbreakable. Now that we know who I am, or who you are, I know who I am. I got respect for Gore. I mean, look, what he's doing on Hell's Kitchen's a bit of a show. I get that. But read his book, man. His audiobook's great. He actually narrated it himself, which props to him, because most people don't have this shit's hard. You know. But cooking is the closest thing to an art department that I you know, you can find. Because it's like an art department under intense time, you know, constraints. 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 1 minute. You get, you know, cook an egg. And you come to find that all the basics are really, you know, the things that inform the complex cooking. And anytime people are fucking up complex cooking, it's because their basics are off. And that's art. I mean, that's right there. That straight up is art, you know? Alright, well, I knew this was gonna go a little slow because I wasn't the most motivated to get started today. Oh, is that really covering? Guess I'm not gonna draw the skull. Oh yeah, even she gets tired of me pretty quickly. Like, don't you have shit to do? Believe me, it happened just the other night. You know? And I get it. You know? Sometimes I don't like me, you know? I'm like, you know, I need to just shut up. That's why I won't talk. You know, I'm just gonna sit here and not do much. Just gonna sit here and draw and not listen to myself fucking be complicated. You know, I learned when I was a kid I just need to keep my fucking mouth shut. So when you first meet, if you first meet me, I'm super fucking quiet. I don't say shit. Most people would say, Rob doesn't even talk. And it's like, no, I'm doing you all the favor of not being fucking annoyed by me. Like, you know? Because it's like this all day, man. Why do you think I could sit here and talk and draw? How many artists can do it? All day long, work on complex shit and talk. Do you just bitch all the time to her or something? No, but I'll be like, mother. She's been hearing about the Justice League movie since 2006, right? When George Miller was first working on it. I'm like, fucking Mad Max, you know. And she didn't know who Mad Max was, so I had to go, you know, Happy Feet? She's like, really? I'm like, well, okay, whatever. Look, it's a Justice League movie. She didn't want to hear about it. So every year since, she's been hearing about it. And now that there's an actual Justice League trailer, she's just like, fucking never wants to hear the phrase Justice League ever again, right? She's been hearing about it for like 8 years. Or 7 years or whatever. I don't know how many fucking... Yeah, 8 years. So it's ridiculous. Even more now. It's like 2006, 2007, somewhere around there. So... Right. So I don't take it personal, man. I failed a lot in relationships, so I know how to make one work, you know. And it's make them food, you know, be there, and know when to fucking walk away and leave them the fuck alone, you know, because I can be a bit much. All right, folks, that's it. I gotta go take my walk. So we got through 3 construction roughies. That's ridiculous. But I'm gonna put on some music tomorrow and see if I can't just get all the construction roughies done. So we'll see. Red 13. It's gonna take a little bit. I haven't drawn wolves in a while. Um, Sephiroth and her, I gotta get right. And then I'll probably go back in and just sketch out their faces because I don't want to figure that out on the page. So, and her hands need work. Oh shit, man! It's a lot of stuff to do tomorrow. The construction is the hardest part. So maybe I won't finish the construction tomorrow. Be realistic, artists, with your time. Don't fucking say shit's gonna be due tomorrow when you fucking damn well know it's not. You know, just be. You know what? Probably gonna be 2 days. I have a saying. Plan for that, but that's not the plan. All right, we'll see you then. Peace. Bye, Jonathan, Dominic, Potato, Chaz. Thanks to Hector for hanging out for a while. And whoever else. I'm out of here. Bye.